Hi, I'm Elaine Harding. Welcome to my blog at stampwithelaine.com. Recently I made this infinity birthday box for a blog hop, and it was in metric, and I promised I would work out one in imperial measurements. So here it is. This is the box I made for the blog hop. So it unfolds itself, and it's a rather elaborate birthday card in a box. You could also put photographs and things and add some layers. And I used the Beautifully Happy stamp set, which is free in celebration with a level 2 spend, which is £90. Let's put this back. And to close it, you'll need a lid for the top to keep it shut. I'm going to stick with the Beautifully Happy stamp set, and the other stamp set I used was Alphabest, which has a punch, and also the Alamo dies. So basically this infinity box are 4 boxes joined together. First one is the largest, and I'll call that box A, and that takes a 12 by 12 inch sheet. These days the packaging for the 12 by 12 sheets, they come in a pack of 20, 2 colours each in the colour family or the colour collection. So we actually need 3 12 by 12 sheets and 1 A4 sheet. So my suggestion is that since you have to buy a pack as a colour collection, all the colours in that collection will coordinate with each other, so you could swap out 2 sheets of balmy blue and 1 alternative colour. That will complement the designer series paper you're using. I still have a stockpile of the 12 by 12 inch cardstock, which I purchased many years ago when they were still selling them 12 to a pack in the same colour. To make the project easier to understand, I'm going to break it down into the 3 boxes. So the first box is the largest one, and that is the outer shell, which has the lid. So you take the 12 by 12 cardstock and you score it at 4 and 8 inches, rotate it clockwise or anti-clockwise, and on the other side you score at 4 and 8. So basically these squares are 4 by 4 and you get 9 on a sheet. So you want to burnish the lines on this grid, and it doesn't matter which way round you have the cardstock, so long as you cut these lines here to create the box. So I'm going to cut on either side of the score line, straight up to that first score line, along here. Fold that in, and then you can cut that away. Turn it 180 degrees and you repeat. Now set it aside and we'll do box 2. All the measurements in metric will be in brackets, and it will appear in the subtitles of my video. Or you can hop over to my blog, and a full list of the cutting guide will be on my blog. Box 2 or box B is 11 3/4 inches by 11 1/4 inches. So bring in the scoreboard again, and with the long side on top, the 11 3/4 side, you score at 3 3/4 and 7 1/2 and at 11 1/4. Rotate your cardstock, quarter turn, so that the short side is on the top, and you score at 3 3/4 and 7.5. Orient your paper so that the narrow panel is on your right. We want to cut the 2 outer rectangles. So burnish the score lines. Basically, in this box, you're also left with 3 equal squares in one direction and 3 in the other direction, making 9 squares altogether. With the tab on the right, the paper facing you, again you want to cut on either side of the score line up to that first score line. Rotate it 180 degrees and cut the opposite side on either side of that score line. This tab joins onto the previous box, the bigger box, but I'm not going to do that yet because it's easier to work box separately than it is to join them all together. I forgot to mention that if you're working with 12 by 12 and you only have the Sattles colour pack of 12 by 12 where they only have 2 sheets in the pack, you can substitute the second box with alternative colour rather than balmy blue. It's just that I've got enough 12 by 12 sheets, so that's why I'm using all balmy blue. Then if you alternate, so if this is say pink, then your A4 sheet will be pink, and you've got plenty of that anyway. You can use the 12 by 12 inch sheets for the larger boxes. So this third box, box C, is 11 inches by 10.5 inches. On the long side you score at 3.5 and 7 and at 10.5. Then rotate it a quarter turn so that the short side is at the top, and you score at 3.5 and at 7. Burnish the score lines. Again, have the narrow tab on your right. Cut away the outer rectangles. Orient your paper so that the tab is on your right, and you cut vertically along the score lines, either side of the score lines, just as you did for the previous 2 boxes. Then set that aside as well. The last box is smaller and narrower. This has been cut at 7 inches by 9 3/4 inches. So bring in the scoreboard again, and on the short side you score at 3 1/4 and at 6.5. Rotate it so that the long side is at the top, and you score at 3 1/4 and 6.5. Now this is only a shorter box. You still have the 3 boxes, but you've only got 2 rows, so you want to cut off the outer rectangles again. Burnish the score lines. Tab on the right, so you know you've got to cut vertically, and you've only got the 1 to cut. So cut either side of the score line. There, your 3 boxes ready to glue to each other. The largest, the second largest, the third largest, and the smallest. I'm going to set that aside and run through the designer series paper and matte layers. I cut these and put them in envelopes. So the largest, box A, box B, C and D. So this is pattern 1. This measures 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. In metric, that's 9 by 9. You need 4 pattern 1 of Dandy Designs 12 by 12 inch paper. They're another celebration item which you can get free with a £90 purchase. Then you need 2 in pattern 2, also cut at 3 3/4. 2 in coloured cardstock, that's Granny Apple Green, and 1 in basic white for box 1. So I'm going to glue that off camera, except for this one because I need to stamp on it. Now this time we want the tab to be on the left, because this is the bit that glues onto your largest box, which is the 12 by 12 inch sheet. So the DSP for box 2 or box B is cut at 3.5 by 3.5, and this is pattern 3. I cut them all out of the same paper, but just use the reverse for that. And the box is going this way, so you view the box from this way. So I want the lines to be vertical, so when I glue it, it's horizontal. Then you have 2 white ones and 1 Granny Apple Green one. So I'll glue that off camera as well because it's quite time consuming. So that's box 2 adhered. So I'm going to put these back in the box 2 or box B envelope for stamping on. Set that aside and progress to box 3. Box C. This designer series paper on this one has been cut at 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. So this will be pattern 5. Notice that I deliberately have all the patterns different so you can tell which papers are for which box. Okay, and then you have 2 Granny Apple Green coloured cardstock and 1 basic white for stamping on, so that goes back into the envelope for stamping on later. And again, I'll glue this off camera and I'll be back. Last one, which is box D. So I'm going to orient my tab to the left because there's only 2 rows, there's less paper. So again, I've cut it out of the same paper and it just used the reverse. I put the stripe on first, so you need 4 pieces of the same paper and just use the reverse. So that's the stripe pattern and that's a dotty pattern, and you just need 1 coloured cardstock and 1 basic white. So for box D, the tab is on the left, that will be glued to box C, and then we want to glue these. Do that off camera. These are the inks I use to stamp with, so it coordinates with the papers, and it's Fresh Freesia, Granny Apple Green, Mango Melody, Petal Pink and Calypso Coral. I've done all my stamping off camera because it will make the video too long, but I've used the Beautifully Happy stamp set to stamp my images and then glued them on the blank spaces. I've also die cut my letters from the Alphabet a la Mode out of silver foil, and I put adhesive backing on the back so it would be easier to glue because the letters are so thin. So just peel back the backing and put the letter there. Then I shall decorate the coloured cardstock. So that's the first box completed. So this is box B, box 2, and continuing the spelling, so B-I-R, so the R will go here, and I stamped and die cut the flowers. Do it how you think is aesthetically pleasing. So on every square we're going to have to put a letter now. I've taken the adhesive backing off so I can glue that directly onto the cardstock. Now we can join box B to box A. So put adhesive on here, and then the score lines won't match up, but you just want to center it so that the gap here between the score lines is equidistant, and then glue it together and allow it to bond. Now flip your box over, and on this panel 1, 2, 3 down where the box joins, you want to cut a piece of same coloured cardstock to hide that join. So this is 4 inches by 4 inches, and I'm just going to glue that on there. Okay, set that aside while we decorate the third box, box C. So I've stamped and glued this to the centre. So the next letter to spell is H, and I'm just going to pop this flower here and the leaf here. The next letter to spell is D. I'm just staggering it and putting it on this piece. Then I'm going to put the A over here and glue that down. I'm not used to working sideways, but otherwise if I don't work sideways you won't see the bottom bit. Now I want to join this piece to box B. So I'm going to fold this over so that it's more manageable, and then apply adhesive to this tab here. Line up equidistance between the two boxes. Again, the score lines aren't going to be in line with each other because this box is a 1/4 inch smaller. As long as that's equidistant, this bit here, the same amount jutting out as this bit here. Flip the cardstock over, and then we need a piece here to cover that join. So glue that piece, box B. Now this one has also been stamped, and I'm going to leave that one blank because you can sign your name there. So this is the Y, and I'm going to put it on this side, and then apply adhesive to this, and apply adhesive on here. Again, match it up, make sure it's equidistant between the gap here and the gap there. Glue it together. Flip it over so you can cover this piece where the join is, and this piece measures 3.5 by 3.5, and you glue it to box C to hide the join. So there's your infinity birthday box complete. Well, almost. So let's shut it. So you shut the two sides, roll it over, shut the two sides, wanted to add a leaf there so it wouldn't look so bare, and I've popped that up on dimensionals. So when you get to this section here underneath the happy birthday, you want to glue this piece on, and this has been cut at 3 3/4 inches by 3 3/4 inches, and I've stamped on it with the same stamp set and floral arrangement, and use the Alpha Best photopolymer stamps to stamp on here. So glue that on this section here, so you know this is this way up, and that's how you should unroll it. So now this comes up, and so this is your box sides. So this is when you want to put your designer series paper on to decorate the sides of the box. So I've cut 4 designer series paper, all the same, and you can either alternate the patterns by just using the reverse. So I'll do that. I'll glue 2 with the stripes and 2 with the dots. Okay, so let's do that. So to keep this closed, we need to make a lid. So this measures 6.5 by 6.5, and you score on all 4 sides at 1 1/4. Then cut a vertical line here up to that score line, and cut on either side of the score line. I think I might just cut a little sliver on here so that when you have glued it together it won't peep out from underneath. I'm going to pop this on my box to make sure it fits. Fold that back and put adhesive on here, and fold the flaps down. Now I want to make sure my lid is going to fit. I don't want it too tight and I don't want it too loose. So I'm just going to bring that flap down, let it bond. And for the top of the lid we want a piece to decorate the top, and that measures 3 3/4 inches by 3 3/4 inches. We want 4 pieces. Actually this is all the same paper, and again that's 3 3/4 inches by 1 inch, 4 pieces, so you can alternate. So what I'm going to do is on the stripy side I will match it up with the stripes. There's my infinity box, birthday box finished. It's not hard to do, but it is time consuming. If you break it down into little sections and complete each section, then join them together, it will be a lot easier to do. I hope you've enjoyed it. So that's how you make an infinity box. It's a box within a box, and it's a lovely way to say happy birthday to someone. You could also put photos on here or whatever you like, and it doesn't have to be a birthday, it could be an anniversary, any occasion really, and then you add as many panels or as many boxes as you want according to how long the word is. After I finished filming the video, I decided that I would decorate the lid of the box. So this is one of the options. Stamped another flower and then put ribbon inside and another piece of blue cardstock, just a tad under 4x4 to cover up the ribbon. And then on the front I added more flowers and I just said hi there. And the reason I did that as an afterthought was so that you'd know which way the box opened and which was the front. This project, it does take a lot of time. It's easy to do, but you have to be patient and it's a labour of love, really. So thanks for joining me today, and I'll be back with more inspiration next time. All the supplies are listed below this video in the show more section. You can also find me on Facebook, Pinterest or Instagram, and all the measurements will be on my blog. It's much easier to see it from there, but it's also in the subtitles as I go along. You can make a note of that as well. Bye for now.